Edward the Helper. Edward is one of the Fat Controller's oldest engines. He knows the railway very well, and he knows too that if any engine needs help, he'll always be there to help. One day, Edward popped into Knapford station with some coaches. He was shunting them ready for Neville's passengers. James popped into the station to collect his coaches. He could see the passengers arriving on the platform.
"What a lovely day for pulling passengers,"
he smiled. Very nice indeed, agreed Edward, but he wasn't feeling his own self today.
"What's the matter, Edward?"
asked James. I've been shunting trucks for a long time, explained Edward. I hardly get to pull passengers anymore. James felt sorry for Edward. He knew Edward often worked at Wellsworth Station.
"If I could, I would share my passengers with you,"
said James, trying to cheer his friend up. This made Edward feel a little better, but he still felt down. Just then, Daisy purred into the station. She was taking over Thompson's passenger trains while he was away at the waterworks.
"Good morning,"
she smiled to the passengers.
"I, Daisy, will take you wherever you want to go."
You'll have to wait, Daisy, said her driver. James must leave first. Daisy was cross. She didn't like waiting at all. Then she saw Edward talking to the Fat Controller. Please, sir, can I pull passengers today? He asked. Sorry, Edward, replied the Fat Controller, but you have shunting work to do at Wellsworth today. Maybe another time. And he went back to his office.
You pull passengers? Daisy snickered. You're too old to be pulling passengers. You're past it.
This made Edward cross. No, I'm not, he fumed. I'm as really useful as any engine on Sodor.
You're an old engine, said Daisy. Old engines aren't as useful as they used to be.
James decided to stick up for his friend.
Let me tell you, he began, Edward is one of the Fat Controller's best engines. He is a great helper and he is often a hero. A hero? Scoffed Daisy. His rescuing skills are quick, said James, and he told Daisy about the time some boys had meddled with his controls and he ended up racing up the line on his own. Luckily, Edward managed to save me, he finished. Pah, said Daisy. Anyone can be a hero, even me. Edward decided not to hear any more of this, so he puffed away to the shunting yards. You have no right to be rude to our oldest friend, said James, because you will never be as useful as Edward. Then the guard blew his whistle and James puffed away. Learn some manners, puffed James as he left the station. Daisy didn't like being told what to do. I'll show Edward that I am more useful than him, she said to herself. The passengers were all on board and the guard blew his whistle. Daisy was pleased they were going. She didn't want to wait around anymore. Edward puffed into Wellsworth Station, where Duck was waiting to leave with a goods train. Duck was pleased to see Edward, but was surprised to see him looking unhappy. What's the matter? He asked kindly. I don't feel useful anymore, said Edward. Now why would you say that? Asked Duck. Edward told Duck what Daisy had said about old engines not being really useful. Duck was not impressed at all. That Daisy really has no idea, he said. She should know better than to say things about old engines like us. Edward was a little puzzled. You? Old? He asked. You don't look old. You look as young as Oliver. Duck smiled. Don't let it fool you, he said kindly. I may be a small tank engine, but even I'm old too. Then the signal dropped and Duck blew his whistle. Goodbye, Edward, whistled Duck. Remember what I said. Daisy doesn't know what it's like to be an old engine. I will, Duck, smiled Edward. Thank you. Edward watched as Duck set off for Gordon's Hill with his train of trucks. Then Edward had an idea. Hang on, Duck, he whistled. I'll help you up the hill. How kind of you, smiled his driver. Come on, let's help Duck.
Edward puffed away to change tracks. Meanwhile, Daisy was enjoying herself. She purred as she passed the river bridge. She tooted when she saw Caroline the car. But Caroline didn't see Daisy, and she disappeared away from sight. This made Daisy cross.
That silly little car, she grumbled. I'm big enough to see.
Caroline is an old car, said her driver. Please be respectable to that. But Daisy didn't like this at all. She grumbled as she rattled around the bend.
Old engines are not as reliable as me, puffed Daisy. I'm more trustworthy than Edward any day.
Watch what you say, scolded her driver. You may not be as old as Edward, but even you can have problems of your own too. But Daisy didn't listen to that. She was sure she could prove to be more useful than Edward. Then James passed her. He wasn't happy to see her.
Slow coach,
he shouted. Daisy snorted as he raced ahead of her. James puffed into Lower Tidmouth Station. The Fat Controller was waiting on the platform. He was surprised to see James looking cross. Whatever is the matter, James? He asked.
It's that Daisy, sir,
James explained.
She's been rude to Edward.
And he told the Fat Controller what Daisy had said. The Fat Controller was upset when he heard this. That is so unacceptable, he said. I'll have words with Daisy when I next see her. Then James looked onto the next platform.
Look, sir, look,
he cried. There, puffing into the station, was Duck with his goods train, and right at the back was Edward. Edward was tired but pleased to have helped. Well done, Edward, called the Fat Controller. Now that's what I call a very helpful engine. Thank you, sir, panted Edward. Suddenly, the station master raced towards the Fat Controller. He had some bad news. Daisy has broken down, he explained. Her engine has failed, and she hasn't enough energy to get to the station. Please, sir, let me go and help, said Edward.
Nonsense,
said James.
Let her stay there. She deserves it after what she said to you.
But what about the passengers? Put in Duck. We cannot leave them stranded. The Fat Controller agreed. Well said, Duck, he said. Edward, when you're ready, go and rescue Daisy. Yes, sir, whistled Edward. Soon Edward was racing along the line to find Daisy. He couldn't wait to see her. I'll show her just how useful I am, he smiled. There she is, called his fireman. Sure enough, Daisy was stuck on the line. Her driver couldn't get her engine going again. Edward stopped in front of her. Well, 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 he teased. I thought you were reliable. Daisy said nothing. She felt very foolish. Let's get you to the station, said Edward. The passengers must get there. Edward buffered up to Daisy, and the driver coupled both of them up. Then Edward took a big puff and he pulled as hard as he could. Daisy was heavy, but Edward was determined to help the passengers. Edward's driver kept an eye on his water level. The fireman made sure he had plenty of steam. You can do it, Edward, called Daisy's driver. This made Edward feel stronger than ever. Daisy just grumbled to herself. Edward took no notice of her. At last, Edward pulled Daisy into the station. He came to a slow stop right in front of the Fat Controller. Here we are, sir, he reached. One broken down diesel rescued. The Fat Controller was very pleased. Well done, Edward, he said. I am very proud of you. The passengers ran towards Edward and gave him 3 cheers. Hooray for Edward, they called. Well done, Edward, whistled Duck and James together. Daisy didn't say anything. The Fat Controller turned towards her.
You, Daisy, have been very rude to one of my engines, he boomed. Today, Edward proved once again that he is a really useful engine. He may be old, but he's still a trustworthy engine.
Daisy felt very bad about what she had said.
You need to show more respect to older engines,
the Fat Controller added. Daisy turned towards Edward and took a deep breath.
I'm sorry I said all those things about you, she said. I guess I was wrong about you.
You shall stay in your shed until you are wanted,
finished the Fat Controller.
I know, sir,
smiled James.
Edward can look after Thomas's passengers today.
Edward was worried.
But what about the shunting at the station?
he asked.
I can do that for you,
suggested James.
If it's alright with the Fat Controller,
said Duck. Edward's driver and fireman spoke to the Fat Controller about James's idea. The Fat Controller agreed.
Very well then. James, you can do Edward's shunting, he said, and Edward, you can take the passengers.
Edward was so happy his axles tingled.
Thank you, sir, he smiled. I won't let you down.
You better take on water first, said Duck, otherwise you'll need rescuing.
But it would be good fun,
smiled James,
because then we can help Edward in return.
Everyone laughed, and Edward couldn't have felt happier with himself.